Hi, thank you for coming to the TSFA classroom today. I'm Debbie, an instructor for the TSFA education team. Today we're going to be taking the basic symmetrical triangular design that you know the mechanics of, and we're going to be using the same mechanics that you learned in this design and taking it to a larger, more marketable arrangement using lots of flowers, lots of color. I think you're going to be excited to make. So we'll be using a large container. This is a 5J paper mache. You could also use this plastic urn. So either one will work. This one would be more of a utility type that might be dropped down inside of a basket or maybe a piece of brass or a piece of silver. And this one would be more suitable to be seen. We'll be using several different types of flowers. So on the supply list that's attached to the video, we'll be using line flowers. This one is liatris and this one is stock. I refer to this as the primary line flower and this is the secondary line flower. We'll be also using a focal flower, and in this instance we're going to be using the sunflower. Other things you could use be a hydrangea, iris, lilies. The third type of flower we're going to be using is the mass flower, M-A-S-S. So we'll be using a rose, or you could use a carnation. Then we're going to be using two types of filler flowers. We'll have the Alstroemeria and the Nova Belgi. So foam, I have used one brick and I cut off 1/3 of the brick, placed it inside the paper mache. I put 2/3 on top so that I have some foam up above the edge of the container because we'll be entering flowers from the side. So it's important that you have something to come straight out from. Anchor tape, you could use the 1/2 inch. I prefer 1/4 inch tape. I'm going to tape down the foam. Now here's the thing, when you use paper mache, it doesn't stick very well. So my trick when I use paper mache is after I put 2 straps across the top, I come in with some more tape around the top to hold it down. The tape itself does not stick that well to the paper mache, but it sticks well to itself. So that gives us a good secure top to our foam, because you have to start with good mechanics if it's going to be delivered and moved around. So we're all set to go. The first flower that we'll be putting into our foam is the liatris, and we should have 7 stems of liatris. So take a look at them. I'm going to want a nice good straight one, a good hardy one. Some of them are a little bit smaller, so I'm going to use those in between. But for my number 1 flower, number 2 flower, number 3 flower, I want the best ones. So fresh cut. We're going to start on the back of the brick of foam and push it in a good 2 inches. Then we're going to take the next 2 hardy stems, and these are going to come out to each side. So once again, as you did in the level 1 symmetrical triangle, the width, the height of the arrangement equals the width of the arrangement. So we're going to cut and clean and enter it on the back half of the brick, straight over the edge of the container. A little bit of a drape down is fine. So we're going to just kind of check the length, and or you can do it like this. So 25, so okay, so we're going to start with that. We're going to keep this one a symmetrical triangle. I'm going to just demonstrate that if you wanted to take this arrangement and turn it into a fan arrangement, which you would have to do. So it's our symmetrical triangle arrangement is going to be, the flowers have to be within this imaginary line on both sides. If it were a fan arrangement, you would come outside those imaginary lines and you would have a semi-half circle. But that's just information, so you can take this arrangement to another level and do something a little different with it. So today we're going to be keeping them within. So we're still working on the back half of the brick. And you could use, if you didn't want to use liatris, you could be using gladiolas. You could be using snapdragons, any type of flower that grows in a spike or a line. So the first setup of our first line flowers. Now I do see something I'm going to point out and I'm going to correct it, and I want you to see what I've got to lean forward. I need to be leaning back in the beginning. So I'm going to place these a little bit more of an angle back so that when I get finished, my arrangement is not top heavy falling forward. So start with a little bit lean to the back. So the next flower we're going to be adding is our stalk. So we have 10 stems of stalk that we'll be using. And so the first 5 or 6 stems are going to just re-emphasize our skeleton of liatris that we've already made. So we're going to just add some stalk, and you're just going to place it a little slightly off center, and then another one on the other side. And I'm going to put 2 more, and then I'll spin it around to show you where these are so that you can place yours and catch up. Okay, so these will be the first 4 stalk that are in it. I have 2 up here, one a little bit taller, one a little lower, and then we have 2 more over here. So this is almost like number 1 together, and 2 and 3 on the stalk. And then we'll come in and place 2 more here, and once again we're keeping the triangle design going, and so there's an imaginary line from the top stalk down to the side stalk. Right, now it is time for our focal flower, form flower. This is your most special flower that you're going to be using. And this is the one that's going to call attention, and it's going to be in the middle of the design. So I have 6 sunflowers, and looking at them, wonderful crooked stems, but a great wide open one, so we'll save that one for the bottom. And then we have one that's very tight, so that one could go at the top, and then these are kind of a more of a medium. So we're going to use one of these tight ones for the top of the design. And so when you're trying to decide how long to cut it, or any flower, if you don't, till you develop the eye, you can always, it's very permissible to just kind of place your flower next to your container and decide where you want it, and then cut it a couple of inches that will be going down into the foam. And on big, thick, heavy stems or woody stems, it helps to put a cut on each side so you have like a point, and it'll stay more stable in your foam. If you don't have that point, if you don't have that point, it sometimes will wobble around. So if you can put a chisel effect on it, it helps. I'm going to put my large flower next because I want this one down front and center here. And that's with that. And then we're going to take we'll take two of the medium ones, and these are going to go out to each side, kind of serving as a baseline. And then our last two are going to come into the middle. And in a minute, I'll twirl this around, and you can see. So this one's a little bit larger than that one, so we're going to bring it down a little lower. Okay, so here's the placement of the sunflowers. Chose this one for a small one at the top, the big one at the bottom. I came out with two mediums out to each side to make another symmetrical triangle of yellow. This one's a little bit larger than this one, so I put this one a little bit lower to kind of pull the weight down. So while you're working on mechanical balance, while you're placing the flowers, you also need to be working on physical balance. Well, no, not physical, visual. You need to be working on visual balance by putting your heavier flowers, the bigger flowers, towards the bottom so that the weight doesn't want to make it look top heavy. Okay, so at this point we have the line flowers and the farm flowers. So our next flower, and we're going to save a few of these stock to put in the at the end of the arrangement. So now we're going to add our Free Spirit, very fragrant, a bright coral rose. This is serving as a mass flower. So a mass flower tends to fill out the arrangement. And so we need this spot of color also kind of to appear as a triangle. So I'm going to also add a little depth to this arrangement with it. I'm going to put one back here for the top, mass. And then we need to also repeat that out to each side. So we're going to put it over here. And since it's symmetrical, what we do on the right, we also do on the left. Okay. Then we could put I cut that a little bit shorter because I would like for the sunflowers to stand out and be the most prominent flowers in the arrangement. I'll put another one over here. Okay, so this is kind of the lower line of the coral roses, and we have one at the top, and now we're going to come in and fill in this part of the triangle here. Okay, so now we have the coral roses in their nice little symmetrical triangle. These 3 in the middle. I didn't line them up perfectly straight across, kind of up and down. I've also have them kind of into the arrangement because they're a bright color, and I'm trying to seek some depth and have some flowers forward, some back, so that you, as you look at the arrangement from the side, you can see all these different levels of color coming through the arrangement. So I have one left over because it's getting full and tight. We're going to use 2 types of Alstroemeria and Nova Belgi. These are going to be our fillers. So we're going to come also in the back, bringing the arrangement to the back a little bit. And then we'll have one on the other side. And as you can see, this is getting to be a very full, big arrangement. Like I said, it's great for so many different opportunity events and things. Okay, so here's where we are so far with 1, 2, 3, 4 Alstroemeria. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the 5th one kind of in the middle here. So at this point, if you want to catch up and check your design, this is how it should be appearing at this point. Now, my other filler is going to be the Nova Belgi. I'm going to go ahead and green next, and then we'll put the Nova Belgi in as the last flower. And then we have a few stock if we decide it needs a little bit more stock in here anywhere. Okay, so for greenery, we have emerald palm. This has been pre-trimmed. Normally it would not come like this. It would have the little points on it. To get a more clean look, well, there's 2 reasons you trim palm, basically. You trim it to get a cleaner look, or if the tips come in kind of damaged and brown, you can trim them off. So if you didn't use emerald palm, you could use the jade or robellini, or you could even use flat fern to do this. So we're going to use this to give a back to the arrangement because this is a one-sided arrangement. So we'll have one up at the top, one out to each side. Kind of choose them to match size-wise. And like I said, you just want to follow that triangle design. And you'll also want to remember that you actually finish off the whole back of the arrangement. And we'll come back and add some more later. So this is a front view with the first greenery put in. And then we have some argonas and some lemon leaf. If somebody would walk some lemon leaf over here, please. So I forgot to put over here. So the argonas is going to be used as a just a more filler. It has a unique color to it that kind of just develops the color palette we have, and it's, you know, it almost serves as a beautiful filler. I would maybe not even have to use the Nova Belgi, but the purple of the Liatris has kind of been overpowered by all the peach and orange and coral. So a little bit Nova Belgi and it will pull out more purple. The lemon leaf is going to be used just to kind of cover the surface of the foam, because we don't want the foam to show. We don't want our mechanics showing. You can take them like this and kind of hold them leaves together and push it in. Nice little pieces. I'm using some of these also to kind of come down over the lip of the container, because the arrangement needs to be married to the container. You don't want it looking at two separate pieces. And I'm not cutting the lemon leaf into little 1-inch segments. It's less insertions if you can kind of leave them big and tall. Like this one is really nice. It can come up here in the back. And then you have to sometimes kind of manipulate them. If you weren't using lemon leaf, you could, another one would be leather leaf. You could use leather leaf fern to green the container out. Don't forget to come towards the back a little bit. And then take a good look at it and decide where you might need a little bit more greens, because the greenery is helping that sight line as you're looking in it. If you're seeing through it, you probably need to add a little bit more greenery. Okay, now I'm going to take this argonas and add a little bit of that, just because it's got that nice little fluffy look. If you weren't using argonas, you could also use plumosa fern, tree fern, seedy uke would be another good one. There's lots of greeneries that would work in this instance. Okay, now I see one spot I would like to add a stalk. We're going to put one right here at the beginning. Added a stalk in the middle, and I think we probably have enough argonas in it. The back could use a little bit more greenery, so I'm going to place a little bit more lemon leaf back here. And as you're placing the greens in the back, a common thing we see a lot of times, even with professional florists, is that they take the greenery and place it all flat back here, and that is incorrect. You need to place your greens even in the back of the arrangement so that the light shines down on top of the leaf, the top side of the leaf. Okay, so we've pretty much have finished it up, but now we're just going to go ahead and add some Nova Belgi. And this stuff is really, really pretty. So we'll put a little bit up front here next to our sunflower, front facing sunflower. The one who's commanding all the attention up front. So that pulls the purple down into the arrangement. Now, even though I cut the tip out of this, you can still use the rest of the stem for a little bit more color. And so as every other flower that we put in here, everything creates its own triangle. So the liatris is a triangle, the stalk is a triangle, the yellow sunflowers are a triangle. So everything makes its own triangle. So we need to make sure when we put the Nova Belgi in here that we are doing the same thing. So we're going to have one up here at the top. And then we need to make sure we come out to each side. And this stuff is really filling it in really nicely. So, yep, kind of the same distance. So we have 2 pieces left. So we'll just kind of come in, put one here on this side of the triangle. And at this point, I'm starting to run out of foam spaces. So if you feel a little resistance when you're pushing it in, pull it out and maybe move it just, a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch over, and see if that will be a good spot to push on the Nova Belgi. Okay, so let me clear my clutter a little bit. So this is your finished arrangement that will be suitable for any event or sympathy. All white or blush and white, blush and pink would make a pretty wedding piece. So there's a lot of opportunities you can use this. This one's more fun to make because it's lots of flowers. So critiquing it wise, I kept the symmetrical triangle going. We have lots of depths going on. If you look from the side, it's this arrangement's almost 12 inches wide. So it has a lot of, if I was going to critique, I'm critiquing it. So, when you're designing, you need to really step back like an artist a lot of times and look at it from a distance. And I see another thing I want to correct, and that is these palm leaves that I have out to each side. They're just too prominent, and they're too flat. So I'm going to make them a little shorter. And I'm going to do, as you did in your level 1 symmetrical arrangement, those 2 outside fern pieces kind of come underneath that line flower. So I'm going to do that on both sides. And I think when I do this, it will make my arrangement complete and ready to send out on the delivery truck. So yes, that looks a whole lot better in my opinion. So I just shortened them underneath, kind of like we did in level 1, and it made the arrangement look perfect. So thank you for coming to the classroom today. Enjoy doing this.